Hey. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me to talk about the Apple River case. So, the verdict has come in, but we're going to go ahead and talk about, we're going to play and go through the defense closing statements. And, we now have some hindsight as we go through it. Did they say too much? Did they not say enough? Did they, we can discuss about this. And but so for those of you who don't know, the verdict, well, in case you're new to this case, let me give you just a quick rundown. There were people that were tubing down the Apple River in Wisconsin. One of these was a man named Nikolai 5152. At the time, this was in 2022. And he came across a group. I'm giving you the short version here. Okay, there's a lot of details I'm skipping. He came across a group of 6 teenage boys. They were like 17. They were all extremely drunk. And so then he got in an altercation. Another group of tubers came and got involved. There was a lot of taunting by these drunk teenagers, bullying, taunting. He ended up pulling out a pocket knife and stabbing 5 people, one of which died. Okay, so the trial went on for 7 days. The jury deliberated, the end of one day into the next day, and they came back with their verdict. Which was that he was guilty of first-degree reckless homicide. Now, there was a higher charge of intentional homicide. They skipped that one. The defense was all presenting that he acted in self-defense. There's plenty of videos of the court hearing, of all the witness testimony, of everything. So you can see that for yourself. But we're going to, so yeah, they were found guilty. And then one person was found, he was found guilty of battery against one person. So one died, 4 more were, 5 people were stabbed. 1 died, the other 4 lived, and 1 of battery. So that was 6 people. Hey, Chalet's in the house. Chalet's in the house. Yes, good morning to you. Good evening to me. So that was the jury verdict, and we'll go over that. But before we jump into Apple River, I just want to go over a couple of things. First, True Crime Cult, who I really appreciate. He comes into my chat sometimes. I kind of expected him to be here yesterday because we were talking true crime, and he wasn't here. And then, as you will see in my community post, I shared A.R. Hayes's community post where he said that True Crime Cult had his brother pass away, and so we want to lift him up in prayer. And his whole family as they go through this time. And so that's probably why he wasn't, and probably not going to be here tonight either. So we feel for you. Let's just, dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for True Crime Cult Bobby. And we just know that this is a time of sorrow, and we just pray that you give them comfort and strength. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Another thing I want to mention is Dylan Rounds. If you had been following that case, his body has been found, apparently with the cooperation of the suspect that had been arrested and in jail for a long time. He finally gave up some directions, and they did find his body. So sad, but everybody kind of knew that something had happened, but at least now he can be laid to rest. The third thing I want to mention, O.J. Simpson passing away, not because of his sports career, but because of the trial that he was acquitted of killing his ex-wife and her friend. And I want to bring that up because I think it's very relevant to the cases we're following now, in particular Delphi, but also Idaho 4, that Judge Ito was the judge of the case, and he allowed certain evidence and denied certain evidence. And when the case was said and done and the jury came back with acquittal, and then some of them had talked about it, and they found out more about all these things that had been withheld from them, they said if they knew it, they would have found him guilty. But they didn't know that, and they can only go by the information that the judge allows them to hear. All right. And we've got Judge Gull in Delphi and Judge in Idaho. So it'll be very interesting for those cases. We don't want a repeat of the OJ case, but sometimes judges just do what they want to do. Number 4, Delphi did have some new information that came out today. And it was a filing, I believe, by the defense, but there's some details in that filing that are very disturbing about how Richard Allen had been treated in jail while he's been in prison, not in jail. And if you guys are interested, we can go over that tomorrow. I could do another live tomorrow and we could go over that. Okay, so let's jump into Apple River. So let me share my screen with you. Put it like this. So let me get to where the defense is starting. Okay.
All right, we are back in the presence of the jury with the attorneys and Mr. Mew. Mr. Truffesy.
May it please the court, counsel. So, ladies and gentlemen, in his opening statement, Attorney Nelson said to you, one of the things you're going to have to determine is what happened on July 30th, 2022. Well, what happened on July 30th, 2022 is a group of drunk teenagers led by the ringleader, Juwan Cockfield, saw an opportunity
Had the video
to torment a man who was by himself. They taunted him. They called him names like raper and pedophile and predator. They did this for no legitimate purpose. When they did this, they're yelling and carrying on. It attracted the attention of another group, right?
Yep.
Led by Madison Cohen and Dante Carlson. 6 drunk teenagers quickly turned into 13. 13 against 1. They got in his face. They screamed at him. They called him names. They swore at him. They put their hands on him. And the group of 6, they became brave. The group of 6 became brave to the point that they circle him and start taunting him.
Like a pack of
They
wolves.
do this to a man who has done nothing, absolutely nothing to them. Then, when that man, Mr. Mew, tries to create some space between him and Madison Cohen, they pounce.
So that is very telling. Because I mean, that he said he tried to create some space because the prosecution was adamant that he had all these opportunities to walk away, and he never did. And here so the defense is saying he did try to create space. And then they pounced on him like a pack of wolves.
They punch him. They push him. They slap him. They hit him again. They choke him from all directions. And Nick Mew acts in self-defense. That's what happened on July 30th, 2022. I just want to give you guys a little bit of an indication as to kind of where I'm going to go.
Actually,
And more importantly, what I think you need to think about when you are back there thinking about the evidence, okay? First is the law.
okay, a lot.
One, there is no duty to retreat, period. That is the only requirement. In this state, bullies like Madison Cohen don't get to tell us where to go. Bullies like Madison Cohen don't get to get in our face and require that we leave. That's not a requirement here. Keep that in mind. 2, subjective beliefs, okay? When you're listening to or contemplating the evidence and replaying it in your mind, you are to do that and consider the beliefs, not the actions, but the beliefs of Mr. Mew. And when you do that, you are to do that from his perspective.
So I don't know how much the jury followed those words. Consider the beliefs, not the actions, and from his perspective. Yeah. I don't know how much they did that to come back with the verdict they did so quickly.
At the time that the events were occurring, so while we have a video, that video is from the perspective of Juan Cockfield. The video perspective that the jury is required to consider it is as Nick Mew is holding the camera.
I think he's doing everything right so far.
I'm going to address this a little bit later, but the idea of provocation. Whether or not Nick intentionally caused harm to Madison Cohen, that is something that you should consider when you're considering provocation. And the other main one I want to talk about is what it means, because it's different here, beyond a reasonable doubt. So normally, beyond a reasonable doubt is this hurdle, and the state has to jump that hurdle in order to prove a case. It's a little bit different here, okay? Because in this case, self-defense has been alleged. Remember when you're back there, Nick Mew doesn't have to prove he acted in self-defense. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he didn't act in self-defense.
You know, Queen's in the house. Hey, Maven, sorry about yesterday. You were, oh, a fever. Oh, I'm throwing up and lethargic and passed out for hours while in your chat yesterday. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you're feeling better today. Yeah. Honey hugs with everybody. Wow. This reasonable doubt, beyond reasonable doubt, could they, I mean, I could see not believing that he acted in self-defense 100%, but if it's not 100%, if you have doubt, well, if you have doubts about the homicide, but he's also saying about the defense, that the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did not act in self-defense. That's what he just said. So in that sense, I don't think that they proved it beyond a reasonable doubt myself. They could have proved it 90%, but that 10% of doubt that maybe he did act in self-defense, then you know, you have to go with it. Oh, you're still sick, but doing your best to hold things together. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we just lift Queen up to you right now. In the name of Jesus, we ask that you reach down and touch her and comfort her and help whatever is needed. If it's her immune system that just needs to kick this bug, if it's medicine, if it's divine intervention, Lord, you're in control of it all. And we just pray that you reach out and do whatever's necessary to help Queen be in good health, with her body being the temple of God, that you will restore her health. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. Now that we got that done, let's go back to see what else he's going to say.
They have to prove that his beliefs were unreasonable. Okay? So the way that I look at this video, the main video of Juwan Cockfield, we've all seen the 9-second video where he's screaming at Mr. Mew, calling him a raper. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the video that you've seen probably more than you want to. But I'm breaking that up into really 3 parts.
I like these 3 parts.
0 to 149 is the first part. All right, before anything actually happens in terms of the attack. And what is in dispute in that first minute and 49 seconds? I think 2 things were raised in the case that were in dispute. And that is, first, whether or not these drunk teens were actually afraid of Mr. Mew, right? I think to a person, they testified, yeah, we were really concerned about Mr. Mew.
Yeah, I don't believe that they, in that first beginning, no, they're just taunting him. They weren't afraid.
And you need to use your everyday experiences in life when you decide what to believe. Does that look to you like teenagers who are afraid of that person? Is that what that looks like to you? Does this photo of drunk teenagers taunting him, does that make you believe in your experiences in life that they're afraid of him?
No, they're not afraid.
Or is this what drunk teenagers who are terrified, is that what they look like?
Nope.
Does that make sense to you? Because you heard this. As the numbers rose, as the number of people grew, their fear, it decreased. And you've heard Mr. Anderson say over and over again, all Nick Mew had to do was walk away. Well, you heard from each one of those tubers, those drunk teenagers, we could have passed. When he walked over by Madison Cohen, we could have passed. And you heard Owen Pelican. I didn't want to pass. I wanted to see how this was going to play out. Why? Because Joanne Patfield was recording this entire incident. They wanted to see what was going to happen. They're not afraid. They want to see how this is going to play out. And
I think not only how it's going to play out, but they were trying to make something happen that would go viral. They wanted something to happen in their favor. And the only thing I can think of is that the jury, perhaps, when considering this part, is that, yeah, they were bullying, but they didn't deserve to die. They didn't deserve to get stabbed, you know, and therefore someone has to be held accountable for it. That's the only thing I can think of that must have been going through their heads. I don't know. I wasn't on that jury. And not that I agree with that, but that's the only thing that I can think of that would make sense for this part, you know, that to overlook the bullying and that they were instigating and provoking. When we talk about provocation, Nicholas Mew didn't provoke anyone. They were provoking this. And I wouldn't go so far as to say that they got what they deserved, but I would say that natural consequences of their behavior happened. You know, you never know when you're picking on somebody, anybody, that, you know, it's kind of like what they say with karate. Oh, I know karate. Yeah, but you're a brown belt and someone else is a black belt, you know, or you have a knife, but someone else has a gun or something, you know. They shouldn't, I think their behavior started, you know, put the whole thing in motion. And I honestly feel that if Nick Mew hadn't walked up further down, then they tube down and there's somebody else, they would have picked on somebody else. I think they were the ones that were just looking for someone to pick on. And they happened to pick on the wrong guy. And the natural consequences followed. That's my opinion. You know, but obviously the jury did not see it that way.
Jawan Cockfield said it best of all. It's for the culture. He wanted to put it on the internet so other people could see it. And when you're using your everyday experiences in life, ask yourself this. Do people who are afraid of other people, do they walk up on them? Is that what people do when you're afraid of someone? Or do you try to get away from them? If you're afraid of someone, do you taunt them? Do you call them names? Do you circle around them? Those are questions that you all can answer. Or an alternative hypothesis to them being terrified is, do they do those things because they're drunk teenagers and what they want to do is make a video and put it on the internet? Which one of those two things, based on the evidence that you've seen, which one of those things makes more sense to you? The second thing that I think is in dispute, or was at least raised in the first minute and 49 seconds of that video, is whether or not Nick Mew's looking for little girls. Now, Mr. Anderson gets up here and says, no, he wasn't looking for little girls. Says,
Yeah.
And why do we, or how do we know that? So that's not on video anywhere, right? They don't mention it. They don't say anything about Nick Mew telling them that, right? Every one of them who speaks to the police provides a statement about what happened. Zero mention to the police that he said he was looking for little girls. This gentleman over here, Investigator Schultz, I think he said that he was a sensitive crimes investigator. He saw some of this stuff come across his desk, and that would have interested him. Investigator didn't testify. Said he would have mentioned, if any of these kids would have mentioned little girls, I would have taken note of that.
I think it probably uses up too much of his time talking about this. I mean, yeah, okay, say it, but I think he goes on about this. I don't know. I didn't see all the testimony of the whole 7 days of the trial. I wasn't following it then. It wasn't until like the last 2 days of the trial that I even I saw one video and then just got hooked. And so maybe in the testimony throughout the trial, maybe it came up a lot. And they're certainly saying it a lot. You can hear them on the video saying, "Oh, he's looking for little girls." You hear them taunting him. So yeah, okay, address it. But then there's maybe other things that he should have spent more time on rather than spending as much time on this. I think most rational people know there weren't any little girls there. Then, I mean, why would he even be looking for little girls? There weren't any. I would hope that's obvious.
So.
Oh my gosh, we prayed for you.
What's the alternative?
Oh my gosh. At the very beginning, we prayed for you, True Crime Cult. Bobby, I am so sorry for your brother. I want to let you know that. And we all prayed for you at the beginning when I first started. We lifted you up in prayer, you and your family, for comfort and strength. And thank you for coming today. I appreciate that. I appreciate you popping in here for as long as you can. Shelley had a phone call. Okay. So we're going to keep going with this. We're looking at what the defense said now that we know what the verdict was, that it was reckless. They came up with first-degree reckless homicide and attempted and everything. So is there anything they could have done better to prove the self-defense?
Why did they say that? I would submit to you that what kind of person does what these kids did to him, and what would they look like as people if all they did was pick a guy out and start to torment him?
I think that's exactly what happened.
What do we think of people who do that? What do we think of people who call grown men rapers and pedophiles and predators for kicks?
Yep.
What do we think of those people? They had to come in and say that. Because if they don't, we know what we think of them.
Obviously, this didn't sink into the jury.
They came in and they said this to you guys under oath. They got on that witness stand and swore to tell the truth. And they told you that he said he was looking for little girls. Well, the cops got up under oath and told you, no, they never mentioned that to me. What are the odds? What are the odds that actually happened and nobody mentions it to the police? What are the odds? Two other little points on that. In your everyday experiences in life, would you expect a man that you never met to walk up to you and say, If you ask them, how's your day? What are you doing? Oh, I'm looking for little girls. Would you expect someone to actually do that? Does that make any sense to you?
Nope.
He's with his wife. He has lunch with his wife and his friends. In order to believe what these drunk teenagers are saying, you have to believe that he has lunch with his wife, he's with his friends, they're having a fine time. Ariel loses his phone, and Nick goes, this is my chance. My wife's right over there, but this is my chance to go look for little girls.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell a bunch of drunk teenagers I've never met before, that's what I'm doing. Tell me that makes sense to you. Because you get to judge the credibility of what people have said to you. Okay? But I want to talk about what we know in that first minute and 49 seconds of the video. What do we know?
What do we know?
We know, based on the evidence, that Nick's looking for a phone. We know that. Ariel said that. Nick said that. They find Ariel's phone in the river. So we know that. We know that Nick comes up to the teenager's tubes, and we know that Cockfield's looking for a phone, and Cockfield's holding a phone. Joanne Cockfield's holding a phone. We know that Nick Mew walks away from them as he passes them. We know that. We know, right, that the drunk teenagers move toward him and start confronting him. We know that. We also know that Nick sees what he believes to be a reasonable, rational adult. So he heads over there to talk to her.
And that's Maddie.
And what we know is you can see his thumb. He's motioning back, trying to explain what happened. And we know that Madison Cohen, who knows nothing about what happened, zero, starts screaming at him to leave. We know that Madison Cohen feels comfortable enough to put her hands on him for the first time and move him because, well, she's queen of the river and she decides where people go. So she's moving him. We know that. We know that Nick is uncomfortable, so he waits for his group to come over because the state can say whatever they want. He's by himself. So we know Nick does that.
Mm-hmm.
We know that when Nick waves to his group, so does Madison Cohen. But there's one big difference here. Her group shows up. And they show up in numbers.
Not only do they show up, they're not showing up to help diffuse the situation. They show up and help escalate the situation.
Know that the group of teens are brave. And as this is going on, they start taunting this man who's done nothing to them. We know that. We know that Riley Madison comes over and now she thinks it's necessary because she's been anointed something in the river and she gets to tell him where to go. So we know that she puts her hands on him. We know that Nick's uncomfortable enough that he waves the group over a second time, trying to get someone to come to his aid. We know that.
Yes.
We know that Madison Cohen pushes him, puts her hands on him. Again, he tells her not to touch him, but she does it anyway. We know at that point it's 13 against 1. The other thing that we know, because we heard it, was someone in the group, the brave group of 6, tells Nick Mew, you got 10 seconds. In your everyday experiences in life, when someone tells you that you have 10 seconds.
Yeah. So, True Crime Cult, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. And we totally respect that you've got some things to take care of, you know, and oh my goodness, I can feel it so much. Because just like love has no time or space, it transcends time and space. I don't care where you are in the world and where I am in the world. I can feel. I don't know if pain or suffering is the right word. Maybe just grief kind of encompasses everything. And we're behind you. We're behind you. And you know, if there was anything I could do, I would do that for you. There's me being here in Cambodia. There's probably not much I can do. And I'm sure that you have a lot of loved ones with you to help support you physically through this. But we'll be patient and we'll lift you up in prayer, and we look forward to when you're able to return.
What normally comes after that? If we have children, I'm going to count to 3. You got 10 seconds to do this. Nothing's good is coming after that. It's reasonable in our experiences as adults to take that as a threat, right? And if you think about it, they all blamed. They didn't know it, but the guy holding the bag is Isaac. We know it's not Joanne Cockfield, and everybody else denied it.
Yeah. So if I'm interested in like this, you've got 10 seconds, is because he's still wrapping up the first part, right, before the attack started. So they literally attacked him with, you know, after he made that threat. Right. I feel for the jury in that they've got so much evidence to consider and everything. Like I said, I haven't seen all the testimony, but I've seen the video, and it's very compelling to me.
So who's left? Their buddy Isaac. They all blame, without saying his name. It's like, wasn't me, wasn't me, wasn't me. Well, you're saying it's the one person who isn't here, right? That's what we know. We know everything here I just told you is what we know in the first minute and 49 seconds. And why does that matter? What does...
Judge, I can't see the exhibits that we do every month.
And step up and go over to the side.
Oh, what a great, we love this judge, don't we? And you know what, when the jury came back with their verdict and then they left, he you know, he said, thank you for your service. Then he said to all the attorney, to everyone present in the courtroom, the judge was like, thank you everyone, you know, for your decorum and everything. I like this judge. This is a good judge. I like this judge. But that's so funny because, okay, they can't see it and they have a right to see it. All right. But the video is panning over. So, and they've got monitors on their tables. so they can see it on the monitor. But I love his response. We'll just get up and walk around so you can see it. Ah! Oh my goodness. That was just great. I'm sorry. That was great.
What does that matter? Why does this matter? Because one of the things you have to consider when you consider self-defense is Nick Mew's reasonable belief that there is going to be an imminent interference with his person. And when you add all of these things together,
Eminent
he
threat.
has to subjectively believe that. As a jury, as you sit here today, we don't get to look at it and say, what would an objective, reasonable person do? Does Nick feel that way? Does Nick feel, with all of these things listed here, that there is an imminent unlawful interference with his person? And I would submit to you, he does. He told you he did. Right?
No nonsense, Judge. That's right, Chalet.
We're going to see the video one time, promise, broken up into those parts.
Oh, YouTube's not posting your comments. Finally, yes, finally. I see him now. I'm sorry that I didn't get to see your comments. I'm starting to hate this video now.
What is he on? Whoa! 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 Get away! Whoa! Oh God! We up! We up! What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? What? Get away from us! What? What's going on with y'all? He's on camera. Tripping. He's on 4K. Yo, the new iPhone got that good quality. What do you say? Walk away. Yeah, what the hell? Who is this? Yes, yes, yes.
They're saying, who is this about Maddie's
Bring the culture. Who is that? Bring the culture. Who is that? Who the hell is this?
Bro, it doesn't matter.
He said he was looking for little girl. He said he was looking for little girl.
You're looking for little girl?
Yeah.
Probably lying and making it up.
We're on us out. I even have that part on camera. Did I?
Some young ass kid.
What the hell is this guy's problem, bro? We're trying to have fun. He's gonna claim you. He's gonna claim you. We don't want this motherfucker. That is on camera. That is on camera. Get on camera. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. You're on camera.
Where is their shame?
The second part of the video that I think is important, and Attorney Anderson's talked a little bit about it, is really the 1 second that we don't get to see, right? The 1 second where the state is insinuating and is claiming that Madison Cohen was punched, and where Nick Mew has testified that he raises his arm to get her out of his space.
You're right.
So those are the two possibilities as to what happened in the video that you don't see. And I am, once again, asking that you use your everyday experiences in life when you make this determination, okay? And I understand that people in stressful situations don't get everything perfect.
I agree, Chalet. And it is possible for charges to be brought against them, but it's probably not going to happen. The law allows for someone to bring charges against them, but now that it's now that all this is done, you know, I hope they appeal the case. I mean, appealing a judge's decision as opposed to appealing a jury decision is, I mean, it's very difficult. It's a much more stringent process, but yeah, maybe something will happen with appeal. I don't know. The judge was very clear, telling the jury that they are allowed to talk if they want to, but just to only talk about their own experience, not to like say anything that anybody else said, but just what their experience was, what they thought. So I don't know if any of the jurors will come out and tell us what they were thinking. Like I said, I don't have any bad feelings toward them. I don't agree with them, but I wasn't sitting there. I didn't have that responsibility. I'm just glad at least they didn't do the first degree intentional homicide. I would have even liked to see second degree reckless instead of first degree, you know. So it's amazing what insurance companies will pay. Yeah. What they will pay without a trial. Huh. And they were co-conspirators, you know. They, like I said, they set the whole ball in motion, but based on their behavior. And I think it's epidemic. I think that this is a drop in the bucket. I think it just shows what is going on across the country, and bullying should not be acceptable. Bullying is harmful. You know, we grew up with sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt us. You know, we're taught that to feel better about something we can't change. We can't change the bullies, so don't let their words hurt you. But I think we've all come around now to the fact that, yes, words do hurt. There's all kinds of insurance. Believe me, I know a girl who knows the lady who knows a man. There really are fighting words. Yeah. Listen, you're listening while you're making homemade chicken soup. Excellent. And it's the bones, right? You know that. The marrow of the bones is where we make our white blood cells. So when you are boiling the chicken with the bones, something is coming out of that marrow in the chicken bones that helps your own white blood cells and immunity. So make sure that you're making that chicken soup by boiling bones. Queen is Betty Crocker or Julia Child. She knows. Okay, you've heard all about it. Okay, good. Well, for anybody else out there that's watching that doesn't know, now you know. Open a can of Campbell's soup. Absolutely. And if you don't have either the regular original long noodles or the chicken and stars, either one will be great. All right, so we're wrapping up the first of 3 sections of the video. Now he's going to go into the second part of the video, which is where the fight happened. So what is he going to say about that? Why wasn't he able to convince the jury? It's too easy. Oh, that's too easy to open a can of Campbell's soup. You know, I had somebody that I knew that was sick, and I said, well, let me make you some chicken soup. And I went and I got just the drumstick and the thigh together, that hind quarter, and put that in water, added garlic, chopped up a carrot, added some celery, added some onion, and just boiled the heck out of it, you know. And I thought, that was so easy. Why don't I do that for me? You know? Yeah.
I get that. I'm not holding anybody to this exact standard. But what have we heard in order to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this happened? Well, You heard AJ Martin say that he grabbed her by the back of the hair and was slugging her from behind. Okay? No one else says that. You hear Alex Vang say he slapped her with a right hand in the face. Then I say, Mr. Vang, how can that happen? He's got a knife in his hand. And he says, you're right, that can't happen. He punched her. You hear Juwan Cockfield, who's not looking at it, he's holding his camera in another direction, says he threw a hook at her. I saw that. Right? Madison Cohen says, she said on direct examination, he hit me with a left hand to the left side of my face. And it sat there. Then when I asked her questions and I said, can you explain how that's humanly possible? And her response was, you're right. I get lefts and rights wrong. He hit me on the other side. Okay. But the state says she had a heartbeat in her cheek. She should remember what side of her cheek the heartbeat was in. She doesn't get that right. But how about the things when you use your everyday experiences in life that the state, they didn't talk about when he was up here talking about her injuries. He talks about her falling back and people seeing things. Okay, people can be wrong. How about things that make sense, though? We know that she's wearing sunglasses, right? We know that. Her sunglasses are not broken.
Picture down here.
She doesn't have a mark on her face from being cut by sunglasses. None of that. Is that what would happen if a 250-pound man squared up on a woman and threw a hook to her face? She doesn't have redness on her face. She doesn't have swelling on her face. She doesn't have puffiness, a bruise, or a mark. How do we know that? Investigator Schultz told us, I saw her shortly thereafter, and she didn't have a mark on her. He says, if I would have seen a mark, I would have taken a photograph of that mark.
So, yeah, Karen came along. The picture with her with the sunglasses was when she was first talking to him, when she first came up. So I think he's just showing the picture to show her with sunglasses. But definitely there wouldn't be any kind of marks in that picture. But then the next picture that he just showed, when she doesn't have the sunglasses, but she's got her beer can and she's like screaming. That's the picture where he's trying to say that there's no marks. Bone marrow and cartilage broth, both from both yellow and red marrow, poultry and beef, also has fantastic fountain of youth properties and is full of polyphenols, etc. Polyphenols. Excellent. Yeah, that's why people talk about bone broth. It's like, what kind of broth is there other than bone broth? I guess if you're using bouillon to make a broth, is as opposed to actually boiling bones. But I mean, for me, the definition of broth is boiling bones. So bone broth is like redundant, you know.
Makes sense, right? She doesn't drop her drink. She doesn't drop her vape. Her cell phone doesn't leave her bathing suit. Is that what happens when a 250-pound man squares up on a woman?
Maybe he shouldn't have been bringing up the 250-pound man that squares up against a woman because they found him guilty of battery against her. So Whatever he's saying here didn't work.
She doesn't drop a thing, and she doesn't have a mark. Does that make sense to you all? Or does it make more sense that Nick Mew pushes her out of his space? Attorney Anderson said she's not in his space. Well, most of her friends said, no, she was. She was in his face. She was in his face. She was in his space. Right? If he makes this motion, she's not going to have broken sunglasses. She's not going to have a mark on her face. She's not going to have redness, puffiness, swelling, a bruise. She's not going to drop her drink because he doesn't hit her. Which one of those two things in your everyday experiences in life makes more sense?
But one thing I was thinking about was that it's possible that when he went like this, if I see a hand coming towards me, I might jump back to avoid getting hit. And that would cause that, you know, when they say that you can see the stumbling backwards, you don't have to have, nobody brought that up. That might have been a good thing to bring up, to at least put doubt that if somebody puts their hand out and that hand is coming towards you and you back up and you're in the river, that you kind of stumble a little bit and lose your footing and stumble. Reasonable doubt right there. That's a very sound possibility of what might have happened, where he didn't actually touch her. Maybe he did. But it's possible that she could still have the stumbling backwards without actually getting hit. Coming towards me, woo, I back up. I avoid getting hit, but I stumble. Yeah. All the deets.
You get to decide that.
Well, they did decide it.
And I want you to think about this. She knows the seriousness of the case. She tells the police she takes a photograph or photographs. Then she claims to have deleted them in a homicide case. Then the police say, that's okay. That happens.
Okay, wait. She took photographs of her face. I get it now. I was like, she took photographs during while she's yelling and screaming. She took some photographs. Okay, wait. Like there's a bruise on her face. She took some pictures and then she deleted them. Oh, let me guess. Because she's so vain that she doesn't dare want anyone to see those pictures. Because if she gives those pictures to the police and they end up in trial, then everybody sees the bruises on her face and she doesn't look pretty. Could that be it? I'm sorry. I'm a little bit mocking of somebody who's a victim. I mean, in a court of law, she's been found a victim. But I don't know. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
You give us your phone, we can get the pictures. Right? Wrong. They do a Cellbrite downloaded extraction of her phone. Investigator Schultz doesn't do it, but he reviews it and says, there's no deleted photos that I saw in there. He even goes so far as to reach out to Madison Cohen's mother, because maybe she either took the photos or were sent the photos. No, not there either. You get to judge the credibility of people on whether or not that makes any sense.
So maybe there were no photos.
That is
maybe
not
there was no bruising.
provocation. And just briefly on retreat and provocation. I told you when I started, there is no duty to retreat. And that is true. That's the first sentence in the retreat instruction. If you want to, it says you may consider whether or not when he was retreating, or if he had to retreat, whether the defendant reasonably believed the amount of force used was necessary to terminate the interference. You may consider whether he had the opportunity to retreat. Okay. Now you don't have to, but when it starts, when it matters, is when he's using the force. And when he's doing that, he's surrounded. He told you he was surrounded. I asked Lieutenant Hart, do you have any information that would be contrary to Nick Mew's belief or statement that he was surrounded? She said, no, I don't. Where's he gonna go? So he doesn't have to go anywhere. We don't let people dictate what we do, and the loudest voice in the room doesn't have to win. Madison Cohen doesn't get to make these decisions for people. He doesn't have to leave.
I make cornbread.
The drunk teenagers don't have to leave either. They told you they could have left, but they wanted to see the show. He doesn't have to go, and there's nowhere to go. That should be the beginning, middle, and end of that evaluation on retreat. Same analysis, same result on provocation. Okay? You have to find that Nick Mew committed an unlawful conduct against Madison Cohen to provoke this attack.
I love to cook cornbread in my cast iron skillet. That's my favorite. And yeah, it would take 2 boxes of Jiffy cornbread mix to do that. But I got to the point, I was making cornbread so much that I didn't even need to like measure the ingredients or anything anymore. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm like getting a teaspoon of baking powder or whatever, but I didn't have to look at the recipe. So yes, I measured, but I got out the ingredients, I put it all together and mixed up my cornbread, put it in the oven and baked it without even looking at a recipe anymore because I made it that often. And then Queen makes it too. Yeah. So we all love that. Love us some cornbread. Now buttermilk and cornbread from the South. You know, that buttermilk's just got that sour tinge to it. And so I do like regular milk and cornbread. So I could cut out a square or a triangle like a pie. Cut a piece of cornbread, put that in a bowl, pour milk over it, and eat that up. Just regular milk though, not the buttermilk. The trick is to make it a bit wet so it doesn't come out dry. Southern style is horrible. It's not sweet. Yeah, I try not to use too much sugar just because white sugar isn't necessarily good for you. But yeah, I use sugar. There is sugar in mine. Never had any complaints. If you have other stuff to eat with it, you know, beans and cornbread. Oh my gosh, that's some good stuff. We need to get back to this trial and stop talking about food.
He wanted her to get out of his personal space. The bully in the room doesn't get to yell at you and tell you to leave. And then when you don't leave, doesn't get to get in your personal space because you are not leaving. That's not how this works. The last part of the video is the 150 to 205 mark. Okay? Now, you heard yesterday, the state wants to break this video, this last 15 seconds or so, down into stills. 1/24th of a second. No one lives their life in 1/24th.
Honey and butter.
And you're not supposed to in this case because you're supposed to look at this case through the eyes of Nick Mew. And if you've watched that video, The first time I saw it, I didn't see what happened. I didn't see him pull a knife. I didn't see some of these people getting injured because it's moving like this. When you break it down to 1/24th of a second, it's just not how we live our lives. You have to look at those 14 seconds through Nick Mew's eyes as he was standing there in the room.
Oh,
And remember,
oh my gosh, you guys.
he told you yesterday that he believed that he was going to die. But he doesn't have to believe that. He just has to believe that he's going to suffer serious bodily injury. That's what he has to believe. Okay?
I see all your comments.
And before I start this video, I'm going to ask you this again. What do we know in those last 15 seconds? We know that Anthony and Dante Carlson were asked by their dad to go over there. Why? To help him.
Food, glorious food.
Quentin Carlson testified that he was concerned that Nick Mew was going to get the brakes beat off of him. So Quentin Carlson wanted his boys to go assist. I would submit to you that Quentin Carlson was concerned that Nick Mew was going to suffer serious bodily injury if someone didn't help him. Alex Vang told you Mew's getting his butt kicked.
This part's a good point.
And Owen Peliquin said those guys got on his ass. Right? Anthony Carlson is yelling, stop, stop, stop. He's not yelling it to Nick Mew. Nick Mew's tail down in the water. Presumably, he's telling it to the people who are beating him. Right? That's what we know.
He hit a woman? He hit a woman? You hit a woman.
Now, Juwan Cockfield found that to be funny for quite some time. You can hear him cackling
Oh, the
on
cackling.
how he
was
thinks
horrible.
it's funny that Mew's getting punched in the face and knocked in the face, slapped. Okay? But what we know from that video is a 250-pound man, 250-pound man, has been knocked clean off his feet
Yeah.
backwards into the water
That
by
had
getting
to be a
punched in the jaw.
strong punch.
That's what we know.
So mean.
We know that in 1 second, Dante Carlson, who throws that punch, runs around to the other side of Nick Mew while he's still on his back, kind of on his on his butt, kind of on his lower back, and he cracks him across the face. We know that. That's not in dispute. We know that AJ Martin, who says he's the peacekeeper. That's what he said. He runs up from behind and shoves Nick Mew while
I don't understand how anyone, when you're just looking at this part, this fight part right here, that he didn't deserve. And you can say, oh, the boys didn't deserve to get stabbed for being a bully. Well, he didn't deserve to be beat up for doing nothing but being on that river. He did nothing to provoke this. Now they said, oh, he hit a woman. So like, that's why I think whatever happened with Maddie happened right before this. They think that so in their mind, if they think that Maddie has been attacked, does that justify them doing this to defend her? Got to look at both sides. If they believe, maybe that's what the jury was thinking. Even if she wasn't hit, even if he just went like that and she stumbled back and they thought there was contact, does that then go to their belief that he just attacked a woman and I don't know, but it all happens so fast when you see the video playing in real time. You know, it's so easy to be sympathetic to Nikolai. I would have been a great attorney for him. Instigation, yeah, they were. You know, so I like if I was an attorney, which I'm not. You know, I would have to consider that the jury might think that, and I would need to work that into my defense in my closing statement here, or when examining witnesses or whatever, would need to be addressing that possibility. As a lawyer, you're supposed to look at all the possibilities. Damon, tighten up. The man came back to the threat. That's why he's up behind bars. Thank you, Damon. I appreciate that. You know, all opinions are welcome. We're not just one-sided here. So they're browsing the crowd by screaming that he had hit a woman. Oh, they're rousing the crowd by screaming that he hit a woman. Yeah, but if they really did believe, you know, I got to consider that maybe, you know, then are they punching him because of that? Yeah, rousing and hit. Yeah, I got that. That could be something that turned the jury the way that they did. Because until just talking about it now, I hadn't really thought about that possibility. That's what you're saying, that they didn't know. They didn't know whether or not she was hit. Well, I think that kind of came out by the way they were all saying they saw different things, but that does happen in witnesses. You know, there have been plenty of scientific experiments done where you put 10 people around something happening, you know exactly what's happening because it's part of your experiment, and they all come up with different things that they saw. Just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true as well, right? I think the kids, so to step back and look at this logically, yeah, they're like screaming fire in the theater, and then you have a stampede. The kids aren't the ones on trial, all right? Although I think it's horrendous the way they were behaving. They're not the ones on trial. Nikolai is the one on trial, and the jury was instructed to look at it from his point of view. So even if they felt justified in this moment attacking him because they felt like they were defending somebody, right? They were doing a self-defense thing, right? We're not considering the case from their point of view. We're considering it from his point of view. And if he didn't hit Maddie, or even if he pushed her a little bit, you know, either way, like I said, he could have gone like that and she could have like backed up not to get hit and then stumbled, or maybe he caught her on the shoulder and she stumbled back. Maybe he did kind of get her in the face. All of those are possible because we don't have video of that, whether or not there was contact. He then gets pounced on by all these kids. So now you have to consider what's in his mind at that moment. And I mean, if I had all these people punching on me, I would be in fear, for sure. And if I had a pocket knife or some other weapon, would I use it? I would do whatever I had to do, right? Because I would be fearing for my life at that point. Whatever happened before whatever happened after, lying about things, and oh, you didn't know that there was a stabbing. Oh, what? There was a stabbing? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I kind of heard some fighting, but I didn't know what happened. Total lie. Total lie. 100%. He admits it. He lied. But he's not on trial for that. He's on trial for this. In this moment, did he start fearing for his life? Sometimes it's just not worth leaving your house.
Dante Carlson comes in for thirds and smacks Nick Mew in the face again. Runs around to the other side of Nick Mew while he's still on his back, on his butt, kind of on his lower back, and he cracks him across the face. We know that. That's not in dispute. We know that AJ Martin, who says he's the peacekeeper. That's what he said.
I find it very interesting when you look at this hand, how hard he's pushing for the skin to come up around his hand. He's pushing really hard.
He runs up from behind and shoves Nick Mew while Dante Carlson comes in for thirds and smacks Nick Mew in the face again. I would submit to you at this point, it's coming from all sides and from multiple people. And this man,
that's true,
who had heart surgery, is terrified as to what's going on.
I would be terrified.
We know.
I see him being angry.
Let me just remind you of this. At this point, after he's been punched, slapped, pushed, slapped, he hasn't stabbed anyone.
This is true.
Right? And if you listened closely to what AJ Martin said in his testimony, when he was shown the picture of him making contact with Mr. Mew before Mr. Mew stabbed him, he said, he got me before I got him, I guess. What does that tell you about what AJ Martin's intention is?
Yep.
He's back in the water now for a third time after getting pushed down by AJ Martin. And what do we see next? That's Anthony Carlson. He walks right by me. Mew doesn't do a thing to him. Mr. Mew doesn't do a thing to Anthony Carlson as he walks by. You will then see, and what we know is Anthony Carlson comes up from behind him, appears to be yelling at him and putting his hands on him.
Now, so Anthony Carlson is Tony. He got stabbed, right? He's going to turn around and stab him. After just being beaten, now I believe he's trying to say, "Hey, calm down, dude." He's trying to make peace. I don't believe he was trying to harm him at all. He's not one of the 6 drunk teenagers that were in a tubing group. He's not one of them. He was sent, I think, or is he? Carlson group. What was that at the beginning of yesterday's? Anyway, I don't think at this point he was trying to hurt him. I think he was trying to de-escalate. But you got to realize that Nikolai was just all beat up, and if your adrenaline is all like fight or flight, he didn't choose flight, he chose fight. And to feel somebody touching you in almost the same place that they were saying AJ was pushing him down, that's almost exactly the same place. You feel it again, you think you're going to go down in the water. Sad. It's so sad.
So now Mew has been touched at that point.
Andy in the house.
Punched, pushed from behind and slapped. And now Anthony Carlson comes up to him.
Okay, wait, let me see what you're saying, Andy. So the guy originally had no knife, but took it away from someone who was trying to harm him with it. That was said, I mean, like when he was talking to the police originally, like, or somebody, I don't know, in the beginning, right? Like the day it happened. Whether by the river, I don't think he admitted anything. I think it was in the interrogation room or something. But that was not true. It was his own, it got established that it was his own pocket knife and everything else was a lie. It was his own pocket knife that was in his pocket at the time. He didn't take it away from anybody. But that was said. That's one of his lies. Your emojis aren't showing up. Oh my goodness. We'll try again, Chalet. Love the cat. With the cat out the door, out the car window. I can't remember which song it was, but you added meow instead of now. Change now to meow. Oh, Lady Antebellum. And then you were on a was it Neil Diamond kick too? Did a couple of Neil Diamond songs. Anyway, let's see what's.
You know that. And then we know 1 second later that Isaac Schumann comes up to him. You guys get to make the decision on whether or not he's choking him around the neck. You get to make that decision. I'm not telling you what that is. You get to decide if that looks like a choke to you or not. So at that point,
I have to say that in the still, like when I watched the video, I did not see this at all. It goes by that fast. The only reason you have these pictures are because of the still frame by frame, you know. And this is a moment where his arm, I think, is actually stabbing him. This is the one that got disemboweled because he said it was AJ, right? Did he say that this was AJ? And the video, when the video's playing, I have to say it looks like he's falling. But if this arm is stabbing your gut, would you not try to push away the person that, I mean, if you have any strength at all, because there's a knife in your belly disemboweling you, would you, that would be like we all talk about defensive wounds. Somebody's stabbing someone and you get the defensive wounds. It almost, you know, it could be you know, I think everything he's doing was in self-defense, but I have to look realistically at everything as well. And like I said, you did in the moving video, you do not see this. And yeah, if this is his arm and he's being stabbed in that moment, would you not try to say, then you're the one having to save your life, right? Totally messed up. The whole thing is such a messed up situation. That's why, like, don't bully people, you know, because that was the thing that started everything in motion. You could be filming. You don't think you could be filming this and doing nothing. Yeah, that guy is going to have a lot to answer to. You can't keep up with yourself. Oh, on all the videos. I'm sure your emojis were spectacular. I'm scrolling back. Ben Queen says, me either, Chalet. I would have tried to diffuse things and de-escalate. Yeah.
People have attacked Nick Mew. And why does it matter? Why does any of that matter? Because if you find the following, Nick Mew is not guilty of all the charges, okay? If you find that Nick Mew believed that there was an imminent unlawful interference with his person, if you believe that he believed that was coming, the 19 or 18 reasons that I put up there supports that, and he told you that. And that's his subjective beliefs. Okay? If he believed the amount of force that he used was necessary to terminate that interference. Okay? So if he believed that he did what he had to do, right? I would submit to you there's only two answers to that. Only two possible answers. He either did what he had to do to survive, or this man who you watch the video, who's never got a speeding ticket, who decides to go out with his wife that day, who's
I'm gonna run down, see what the dogs are barking at, but I'll let this play for you. Give me some comments if there's something that they say that is interesting.
floating down the river and having lunch, decides, you know what? Today's the day I'm going to start stabbing people. I'm going to leave my group. I'm going to go over and I'm going to start stabbing people. Mr. Anderson says he snapped. If he was in fear, he would have left. I think anybody would dispute that he was in fear. So when you're determining whether or not what he did, if he believed that he had to do that to terminate that interference, I would submit to you, why else would he do it? He either believed that or he just lost his mind. Right? This 52-year-old engineer who's married just lost his mind that day. Those are the two options I think that you have on that. And the final thing that you need to decide is whether or not his beliefs were reasonable. And the standard is, would a person of ordinary intelligence and prudence would have believed standing in his shoes at that moment. Okay? Quentin Carlson is about his age. And Quentin Carlson is concerned enough for his safety that he sends his boys over. Quentin Carlson tells the police that after his boys have been injured. He tells the police, I get it, they're injured. I sent them over there because I was concerned for the old guy. Brandy Hart. Did you watch that video yesterday? There's a point in that video where Nick Mew puts his hand in his head and says something like, my life is over. And Brandy Hart says, I don't know about that. They're self-defense. She says, I don't know what I would have done. But I can tell you I would have been scared shitless.
Okay, what I miss? Oh, no comments from you guys? Okay. The dogs are fine. My neighbor has his dogs out. And so my dogs are barking at his dogs. So which is fine. As long as there's no thieves around. Okay. Let's listen.
She's been a police officer for 25 years. And that is her response. State never followed up with her on anything after that. That was her statement to the police. Or that was her statement on the tape. And as I mentioned, Alex Vang and Owen Peliquin say he's getting his butt kicked. They're all over him. Are those reasonable people? You get to decide what a reasonable person would do in that situation. But I would submit to you, you've got something to work with. You've got something to work with. Briefly on the charges, okay? Before you even get to self-defense, you get to intent. You have to find intent on the homicide charges initially for Isaac.
So this part apparently did work because they did not find him guilty of intent.
Schumann, and you have to find him for the others involved, okay? And the question on intent is mental purpose. Can you watch that video and say that Nick Mew's mental purpose is to kill Isaac Schumann? Or is his mental purpose to get another person off of him? You get to decide that. Okay. Under those circumstances, you heard everybody say, anybody who never touched him, he never touched. Right? People were like, I didn't want to get near him. They didn't touch him. He didn't touch.
Well, I don't know about that statement. He didn't. They said they didn't want to get near him because they were all. I mean, throughout the whole thing, they were getting pretty close to him, pointing their fingers and taunting him and screaming at him. And they certainly got close to him when they pounced on him and were hitting him. So, what part of everything happening is he referring to here? You know, what part were they saying they didn't want to get near him? You know, obviously after he started stabbing people, nobody wanted to be near him. But by then he did walk away.
Touch them. He didn't say anything. You get to consider all the facts and circumstances.
Okay, wait. Queen says, OMG, I just watched some high school punk walk up the path where I live and throw his pizza slice at the fence. Complete and utter disrespectful punk. Oh my goodness. What a waste of pizza, too. I mean, looked right at me while he did it. The path and fence runs parallel with the driveway here. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you, Queen, for mentioning to hit the like button. Thank you. Looks right at you, throws the pizza at the fence. Who wastes pizza? Too. I mean, yeah, I would have eaten that pizza. There's something wrong with him. The guy's crazy if he's wasting pizza. Yeah, what the heck goes up with that? It's a crime in itself.
He didn't say anything to Isaac. Right? Isaac grabs him by the throat and he stabs him one time. Is that an intent? Is that his intention to kill Isaac Schumann? And when you started this
How do you
case,
stab him twice?
you heard that was the charge.
Deal?
Well, those charges have changed. Now you get to consider all other kinds of charges with all other kinds of mental states too, right? Maybe it was intentional. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was reckless. Pick a theory.
Well, they picked one.
Don't let them just throw things against the wall and hope that you guys let something stick. They're telling you they thought it was intentional. Now it might not be. Now it might be reckless. They don't have it. Nick Mew wanted to get Isaac Schumann away from him.
Yeah. So run away from the person throwing pizza and call 911 because they're obviously a psychopath. And Queen says, you'll take a picture and send it. Looked at me with such hate in eyes while he did it. Was super creepy. Are you home alone? This is not good. Do you have dogs? You have dogs that can attack this guy? Like if he tried to do something? Make sure you have a knife. Well, a knife against somebody else, they can get the knife away from you and stab you. A knife isn't really ideal. Okay, so that guy did not have. So, okay, now Andy's talking about Nikolai. He did not have a knife originally. He's deemed the stabber. He did stab them. What would have happened if he had not taken the knife away from the group of drunk? He did not take the knife away from he had it in his pocket. He brought his own pocket knife to the river to be able to cut the ropes of that when they tied up, and then at the beginning when you tie up your tubes together, and then at the end when you need to cut the tubes apart. He had his own pocket knife. It was established. There's no question by the defense. It was his pocket knife. He never took a pocket knife away from the boys did not have a pocket knife. It was his own pocket knife. He took it out of his pocket. Now you're hungry. Or is that the same comment, but like it just showed up again? She's in Canada. Well, yeah, Canada is a big place. We're not revealing where she lives. That's not Canada, not yet. Canadians are supposed to be nice. Oh, Chalet has seen the picture. Is it a chain link fence? This is why it's called Are You Ready to Ramble? Because we can ramble off the main subject. Yeah, Ontario. Yeah, it's a chain link fence. Pizza on the chain link fence being gooey. Yeah. Oh my God. What a waste of pizza. That's all I got to say. It's a crime in progress. Yeah, well, just be careful because the punk can attack you, and I'm really concerned for you. Make sure you got somebody around. They could come back, make sure you're secure.
He didn't chase Isaac Schumann down. He didn't move toward Isaac Schumann. Isaac Schumann moved toward him. And on the attempted homicide, read the instruction on attempt, you guys. In order to convict someone of an attempted homicide, the state must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that demonstrates unequivocally that Nick wanted to kill these people and would have, except for the intervention of another person or some other extraneous factor, okay? And unequivocally means there can be no other inference which can reasonably be drawn. No other inference. And an extraneous factor is something outside the control of Nick. You heard D.A. Anderson say, but for medical intervention, some of these people would have died. Well, A.J. Martin would have.
That's the one who got this imbalance.
Dante Carlson had a hernia. He repaired a hernia. Sorry, the medical intervention doesn't prevent him. He's not going to die from that. Anthony Carlson gets 2 stitches. He's certainly not going to die from that. And Riley Madison could have got an infection, they said. I understand that. But if he wanted to kill them, why didn't he?
I like that line too. That sounds.
If you believe Attorney Anderson, he's alone with Dante Carlson.
So, Andy, yes, he pulled the knife after being set upon. Now, what they show in the picture, like in still frames of the video, is that he had his hand down on his side, and it looked like he was like fingering his pocket, like feeling the pocket knife inside, but not taking it out yet at various points before. But he didn't take it out and have it in his hand until after they were punching him and pushing him in the water. Yeah, he had the knife to cut a rope. And Chalet says, don't worry, Andy, I wasn't paying any attention to you. And Queen says, the first picture she took is from where she's sitting having her smoke right now, so you can see how close it was. Chalet, oh my God. Yeah, I'm concerned, Queen. You need to make sure somebody's there with you, or you've got some kind of protection, or just go inside and lock the doors or something, in my opinion. Andy says, okay, I thought I heard he took it away from one and tried to stab. It was correct. There were lies, and he admits that he was lying. So you did hear him say that, or you heard it said, but that's not, it's been cleared that that's not what happened. Okay. super weird and creepy. Kids these days have no respect, and you're worried for future in a society. Absolutely. You're back in the house and safe now, Maven. Hugs. Okay, good. I feel better now. I don't want anything happening on my watch. I don't want anything happening ever. Okay. Hang tough, queen. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see if we can get through the end of this closing statement.
Why does he stab him one time? He wants to kill him. Why doesn't he smash him up? He wants what he wanted all along, to get away from these people. He's leaving, and Dante Carlson, who has beaten him up, has hit him in the face repeatedly, confronts him again. What does he think? What does Nick Mew believe is about to happen? You don't have to let somebody beat you before you respond.
True.
Doesn't that make sense? And because they don't have the attempts here, because there was no outside extraneous factor, they also say might not be attempts. Take a chance on reckless. How about that? Again, not really a theory, but you get to make that decision. I'm going to comment on the video because I think it's appropriate that was played, the interview with Nick and Brandy Hart. He lies about the knife.
There you go, Andy.
He lies about the knife. What Lieutenant Hart said is he's never wavered on it, is that this was self-defense, that he was fearful, and that he was being attacked. Okay? That he's never wavered on it. He said it over 20 times in the interview, and it's the first words out of his mouth when he's interviewed by Lieutenant Hart. Some people get some facts wrong. Some people lie about stuff. He's not telling you the truth about the knife. But does it change one thing that you saw on that video?
No.
That's the reason we want there to be a video. Is so you're not taking the word of 13 people who don't get it right. That video is not subject to change. Attorney Anderson's right. It is what it is, right? What has persevered through this case is Nick Mew's fear, how he felt, the shock. You heard people testify about that. The whiteness, the wide eyes, the ghost-looking color of his skin. That has persevered through this case. He lied about the knife.
I thought that was sunscreen on it because I did think like, why is his face so white? And then I thought, oh well, he probably has sunscreen on his face. But anyway, I think we got through enough of it. We're coming up on 2 hours, so we get the idea. Hopefully, we'll one or two of the jurors will speak out and let us know why they went with the reckless homicide and why they did not believe that there was any doubt that it, could have been 100% was self-defense, right? I mean, so 100% they believe it was not self-defense. Because even if just 10% it could be self-defense, then they can't do homicide. Because it has to be 100% homicide. So if there's just even 10% that it could be self-defense, they can't do homicide. So I don't know. I'd be interested to know. I mean, maybe they have valid reasons for. I'm sure that they believe whatever it is that the reasons that they have. They wouldn't just like throw something out and not actually believe it. They whatever justification they had for their verdict, they believe it. And I would be very interested to understand what's their rationale for believing what they did or do. So is everybody going to be around? You can just put like a 1 for yes. Is everyone going to be around tomorrow? Same bat time, same bat channel? Because I'm more than happy to go over Delphi and the latest with and in case you didn't know, there was a filing, I believe, by the defense, and it has to do. I can't remember what they're asking for right now, like something to be admissible, inadmissible, or something like that. But they describe the conditions. I mean, some specific and very grotesque, conditions that Richard Allen has been suffering through in jail, in prison. Should be chalet, all right. Yeah, so I believe I already put it up. Let's check. We can, we're here. Not you. I meant to go here. Whoops. My channel. What is shocking? CNY family must be something about Kylie Rodney because they don't usually talk about anything else. My channel. Community. Okay. Right here, the latest on the Delphi case. I don't know why it didn't give it. Why didn't it put the thumbnail like this one? Right? I don't know why it just did a link and not the thumbnail, but whatever. But this is Defense Diaries podcast. It's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But they go page by page over what I want to talk about. But they do a lot of pausing and talking as well. So I'm not going to like play their video and then talk about it. I'll find the document and so that we can have that PDF and then we can go over it and read through it and have our own comments about it. But you're more than welcome. I encourage you to go to Defense Diaries podcast. It's this link on my community tab. If you're not already subscribed to them, just difficult to think that guy set upon by a group only did it maliciously. Exactly. You can be here. Oh, I hope so, Andy. And I hope you're feeling better, Queen, and maybe you can join as well. What is this? This is April. Is it like spring break? Is that why this kid's not in school right now? Or is he playing hooky, eating pizza, wasting pizza? Yeah, but the scary look in his eyes, looking straight at you while he did it. I mean, what if, remember when they used to like throw shoes up over the telephone wire and then that was supposed to be some kind of gang signal or signal that that house was selling drugs or something? It was some kind of signal. What if throwing pizza on the fence is a signal for someone to come back later and like target your house? I mean, I don't want to, and I don't want to put fear in you. I want to put safety in you. I want you to look out for yourself. Took engine 4822 for a pump test yesterday. Cool. So you got a fire engine? You got to drive a fire engine? That'd be cool. So yeah, I want you to be safe, Queen. So get that, as soon as it's safe to do so, get that pizza cleaned off of there. Feed it to the dogs, use it for fish bait. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Don't eat it. Don't be like Chalet and eat it. So yeah, we'll go over that and have our latest thoughts on Delphi. And who knows, maybe something else will get filed between now and then as well. We can talk about both, but at least talk about that. Alrighty. Maybe they're trying to poison an animal. Yeah. That's sad. Don't put poison in the pizza. Oh. Not good. Not good. Not good. All right. But you stay locked in the house until somebody comes home or whatever. Keep your phone easy to call 911 if you need. Do you guys have 911 in Canada? Or even a neighbor or somebody that can like come help you? You know, have somebody on speed dial, somebody ready. Pizza and butter, pizza and waffle, pizza and I don't know what it's and. A piece of pineapple, a pizza box. I don't know what that square is, or a diamond. Kind of looks like a pat of butter to me. That's my first impression. All right. So you do not interact. They will make you a target. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Andy, for making that clear if I wasn't clear about that. Oh, is that a beer? That doesn't look like beer, but it should be. It should be pizza. Why am I? Oh, there I am. Show. There it is. Okay, Queen, do not interact. They will make you a target. You have somebody that you can call that can be there. You know, if you have 911, call them. If you don't have 911, have a neighbor, a friend, somebody that can come and help you. I don't like this guy. I got a bad feeling about this kid. If he just threw pizza on the fence and walked away, that's one thing. But you said the way you got the creepy feeling when he like looked right at you when you did it. That's the red flag. You got a red flag there, and you got to pay attention to that red flag. Don't be in fear. Don't be in fear. You take control of the situation, and you be in strength, and you be prepared. And if nothing happens, he doesn't come back, awesome. You know, but if he does, you're not in fear. You know exactly what to do. You're ready. You definitely did not engage. Excellent. If he comes back, don't engage either. You just call for help from somebody. You get that ready. You get that set up. You can even call hungry for pizza and waffles and beer. So it is a waffle? I thought it might be a waffle emoji. It was one of my guesses. You're hungry. I already ate. I was going to sound funny. I had hummus. I got hummus. I bought some hummus. But I didn't have any pita bread or anything. What I had was like a hamburger bun. And I just tore off pieces of bread and dipped it in the hummus. It worked. But I had a hamburger for my lunch, one that I made myself. So yeah, what a waste of perfectly good pizza. I agree. All right. Let's say a quick prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Queen. She is an amazing person, and we love having her in the chat. And we don't know what the intentions are of this creepy kid that threw pizza, but we just ask that you place a hedge of thorns around her according to your word, that hedge of thorns protect her, that you set angels around her to guard her and be ready to protect her, and that you give her sound peace of mind and ability to ask for help if she needs it, but to have peace, your peace that passes on all understanding, Lord, and help her feel better and eat her chicken soup, and may it bring healing. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Oh, you're welcome, Queen. And MacGyvered it. Oh, and, my eyes were closed. I didn't even know you wrote about the chicken soup. It's amazing. Okay. Eye contact is a direct threat combined with the action thrown pizza. See? Red flag. red flag. But you're not going to be afraid because when God is for you, who can be against you? This guy, little punk, like you said in the video, he's a little punk. But you got to be safe from the little punk, you know. And you are. So, excellent. Enough said. Love transcends time and space. So wherever and whenever you are watching this, I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to tomorrow. This is weird. This is like 5 days in a row. What the heck? What's going on? Must be that eclipse. It gave energy on the planet. Now I'm doing lives every night. No, not for every night, but for tomorrow night I will, which is your morning. So yes, love you, Chalet. Amen, Queen. Andy. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Bye.